Okay. There we go. So hi, everyone jumping on. Say hi in comments. We will try to keep up in comments as we do this. I'm Christina, for those of you who don't know me, who are new to my group. And
I am Tyler, who am very new to Christina's group, and I am super excited to be here.
yes. Also, we should say, if you did miss the full moon gathering workshop that we did together here in the group, instead of scrolling down, you can scroll down in the group, but I also put it up on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Sanctuary Within You. And this is going to go up there too, if you want to share it with anyone as well. So today we're going to talk about the topics around Gene Key 19, because that's the sun's position in Aquarius, 8 to, I believe it's about 13 degrees Aquarius. And it's Gene Key 19, and it's about codependency and sensitivity and sacrifice. So a lot about energetic boundaries as well. And also that sensitivity to other realms for different reasons. So I thought I would
Can I
start.
ask a question?
Yes, please.
Can I ask a question before you jump? For those of us who are new to these gene keys, how does it connect to the sun? It moves in different gene keys. Help me understand, because this is all new for me. Like,
Okay.
how does this work?
Okay, so there's 64 gene keys. We all have them within us. In our personal chart, we have 11 positions. But there's a Gene Key Pulse, and you can all sign up for their newsletters on the Gene Keys site. And the Gene Keys Pulse is the gene key that is where the sun is at the moment. That's what I said. So right now the sun is 8 degrees Aquarius. So this gene key is highlighted for about 5 to 6 degrees, which is 5 to 6 days a year. So right now that is Gene Key 19, starting last night here in the US, and will go to, I believe, sometime Friday. And then it changes to the next. So next year around, when the sun is in this Aquarius position, it's going to be the same. So over a year, we go through the 64 gene keys. So this is very highlighted for us all as a collective. And if you have 19 in your chart, it's going to be really loud for you, but it's loud for everyone right now, just like the sun in Aquarius is really loud for everyone right now, and what that means. And if you have the planets in that position in Aquarius, that's going to be highlighted for you as well.
Beautiful.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
And hi, everyone jumping on. Hi, lovelies. And so I felt really drawn to. He talks a lot about even animal wisdom in this and different realms, just connecting to it. So that's the space that I'm at. So I'm going to do some collective, just to cards to kind of like see what messages that collectively, you who are catching this, whenever you're catching it, even if you're catching the replay, and please, if you do catch the replay, let us know, comment, and we will follow up in comments, even if you're looking at the replay later. So please do that. And even if you're on YouTube as well, we'd love to hear you. We'd love to discuss all of this. So of course we have the cat here, which is always about self-love. Cats are just self-love. It's time to strengthen that relationship with ourselves. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about in different angles today as well. So that's perfect. So if you're getting that message, if that's for you, soak it in. My tea
Can I ask
today
a question?
Yes, please.
Oh, so does that why there are people who are cat people and dog people? Because cats represent self-love. And so those who have a cat maybe need to be reminded of that. Whereas I feel like dogs are more about love of others. Is there a connection there just as an outsider looking in?
I don't know. I believe that that's for everyone to feel into, because cat might be meaning different things. I'm really in tune to this deck and to the way I interpret animals, because that's what I've done since I came across this specific one. It's a Swedish one, so I can't show my books. They are falling apart. I've had these since 2005. But for me, that would be the interpretation, but it might not be the interpretation for others. And dogs for me is more about friendship. Like you formed it as maybe loving others, but like that friendship connection and connection to heart in a different way. But cats for me, whenever I see a cat, is like a reminder to like, hey, can I just love on myself? Often like internally in my thoughts that way. So it's about strengthening that relationship with yourself. And so, and also about like pleasure. I mean, cats, I love, I love this analogy. Like you see a cat and they always find the sunny spot in the room and they just lay there and they don't care about anything and they lick themselves and they're just like amazingness and they don't give a shit about anything else. They know how to take care of themselves. They know how to be in pleasure just by simply being. And so that's the energy of the cat for me. And so then we
Yeah.
have, oh, hi everyone jumping
So
on. Yes,
there's a comment from Carrie who says, I need to learn and implement self-love and I don't like cats. I feel that. I feel that, Carrie. Like,
yes,
I don't like cats either. And maybe this is because of the struggle, because it's a reminder of, I look at that cat and it's like, how selfish is that cat? That cat does not care about me at all. Whereas dogs are like, oh, here you are, you're home. I'm excited to see you. Like, it's a very different energy. And I wonder if that's because the cats are supposed to remind us that
yep.
we
They are
got to
not
start with ourselves.
codependent.
They are not, cats are not codependent, which is beautiful.
Dogs can definitely be in a different way. Yep. And so I just wanted to mention these other two cards that came up here too. So one is the I don't know the English words; these are all in Swedish. So it's this miniature monkey, and and this is about also spot on. This is about not giving your power away to other people. This is about really taking radical responsibility for yourself, and know that we all have that responsibility to fix things in our life, to create our life as we want it to be. So this is a reminder for someone or several someones to take back that power, where you have been maybe waiting for someone to do something, or where you are thinking, well, if only I have this first, or I have to connect before I can do this. That's giving away your power here. So it's about honing all of that in, knowing that you're the creator of your life and you can act and do whatever you want to be able to move forward if that's what you choose. So don't putting away power to anyone else, or putting away power to time too. And as I said, like, well, if this happens, then I can do this. It's like, no, you can do what you're meant to do. Don't make excuses. That's for someone.
I love that.
And then the third one is are the bees. And the bees are all about co-creation for me. So co-creating, and now Tyler is just in bliss because that's his whole life. Co-creating, really important. So this is about opening your heart to co-creation, because something is coming in. If this is a message that resonates for you, opening your heart to the unexpected co-creation as well. I mean, oh my God, meeting Tyler a month ago, and not even a month ago. I can't believe I feel like we know everything about each other at this point. And it's amazingness. So, and it did not look the way I thought it would look. So that's just an example, right? Just like be open, because if you're too much in a box, you will miss the opportunities that the universe is sending you. So if these are really resonating for you, whoever's listening, and if that hits you, open that heart. Don't let your mind put you in boxes that won't move you forward the way that your heart will.
The other thing I like about bees that I would add here is that when you look at bees, they look very chaotic, right? If I look at a beehive, it looks very like just chaos. But if in reality, there's a lot of order and structure built in. You have the queen, you have the workers, you have the drones, and they work together for the purpose of making honey. And it's a sweet process. And so I wonder for us, this idea of how do we create and co create these structures that allow for that sweetness to unfold and also may allow for a little chaos.
Yes. Oh, that was so all you, all in that. I love that. Structure and chaos all in one. See?
See, I don't know why my iPhone. Oh, look, my iPhone is like, look, I'm magic. I'm just
Yeah,
fireworks.
I know. Okay, I can't like people's comments here, but hi everyone jumping on. I love that you're here, and hi, we see you.
So
Okay,
can I add?
that's you,
Can
Tyler.
I?
Bring it.
Okay. So one more question for you about this pulse process with gene keys.
Okay. Okay.
So When did this process for the 19th gene key begin? Was it
Last night.
last night? Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and I kind of shared that this morning, is in the Hebrew calendar, this is another amazing day that coincides because we talked about last call Tu B'Shvat, which is the 15th of the month of Shabbat. And it really was the fulcrum between this harshness where these trees and old things were getting uprooted and this idea of death and rebirth. And then we planted these new trees on the 15th. Well, today is the 18th of Shabbat. And the number 18 is really significant in Judaism because 18 represents both completeness and it represents life. So, and the reason for that is there are 18 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So the number 18 is this completeness. So that as we are in this new, where we're taking off and going to the moon, and we're talking about all of this, we are in completeness today. So the things that are happening today are going to be done. They'll be complete. And then tomorrow, we wanted to do anything. It's all going to kind of unfold without us really being codependent on work, codependent on the creative process, because the universe is just going to take it for us and run with it. The other thing that is the representation is 18 represents life. So in Judaism, we say chai. Chai is the Hebrew word for life. And if you know Jewish people, sometimes you'll see them wearing this necklace with the chet and the yud, which are two Hebrew letters, and it's chai. You've heard people say lachaya, which means to life. The word chai has a numeric value of 18 in the gematria. So when there are special occasions like bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, things like that, we encourage people not to give in like $20. It's more meaningful to give 18 or 36 or some multiple because it represents life. So today, until the sun goes down, we are in the fullness of life and the completeness of life at the same time. And we just left the fullness of the moon and the newness of the moon 3 days ago. So it's beautiful, beautiful timing for us to have this conversation. So I really hope people are open to receive, and I think that will be the key because sensitivity is what we're here to learn.
Yes. I love that. Can I add what the planets are doing today?
Yes, please.
So it's amazing of what you just said and this completion and also this like, okay, today, what we take action on today, what we are, what I'm hearing here is also like planting those seeds, but it's really about like planting seeds and then harvesting the fruit pretty much right away is kind of that feeling that I'm getting to. And so with that, the planets today, we have Venus and Jupiter, excuse me. Venus and Jupiter is in a beautiful trine, 6 degrees Capricorn to 6 degrees Taurus. And a trining is a really good aspect. And Venus and Jupiter are the two benefic planets. So this is all about, Jupiter is about expansion, it's about luck, it's about all of these beautiful things. And Venus is the feminine planet of everything pleasure. So everything that makes you feel good. And it's including money. It's just abundance. It's like the Empress card in Tarot. So we have both of these making a harmonious trine, which is amazing. It's just flow between them, right? So that's all this like abundance and all this expansion, all the yummy in yummy way. We can expand through challenges too, obviously, but in this beautiful harmonious way. And then right in the middle, so trines like this from here to here, right in the middle of that, we have Saturn. So Saturn is sextiling both of these. Sextile is also
What? Okay. Last time I learned about quincunx.
yes.
Sextiles? I may need to sip my water here. What is a sextile?
Highly hilarious. Sextile is as I said, it's right between the trines. So a trine is, let's see here, 60 degrees. A sextile is 30 degrees. So it's two zodiac signs. So a trine is one, two, three, four, and then the sextile is right. So it's moving 2 zodiac signs. So Saturn is in Pisces right now. And the way I see it, I always see the planets and the transits in this circle where the 12 zodiac signs go around. That's why how I'm explaining it, right? So with Saturn in the middle, sextiling, which is also a benefic, trine is a benefic aspect, and sextiling is a benefic aspect. So with Saturn sextiling both of them, also 6 degrees, but in Pisces, is stability. So we have Saturn it's all about mastery. It can be about limitations, but this is a good aspect. So it's not going to being a challenge like that. So this is actually helping those benefic planets. So anything that you kind of take an action on today, that you put this in place so that within yourself, a commitment to yourself or a commitment by action, what you're doing today is Saturn is going to help to stabilize that so it gets to be long term. Saturn is mastery. Saturn is structure, right? So and structures can be limiting, but not how it is today. So whatever you are listening, whatever you're doing today and taking action on or committing just within yourself too. It can be a routine that you commit to. It can be self-love that you commit to. So what you commit to today, Saturn is going to be there and keep you grounded and make it long term, all this beauty that Venus and Jupiter is bringing us. Was that understandable?
So would it be accurate to then say that Saturn is having a threesome with Venus and Jupiter and bringing them all together? Am I off on that?
Will that
Again,
make you happy, Tyler?
I warned people this was not for the faint of heart.
Yes.
Would it make me happy? Sure. I just want to make sure I understand because you say things that are just way beyond my
Yes.
knowledge, and so I'm trying to understand and bring it down to what I can relatively understand. So a sextile is basically a planetary threesome. Is that like the short
No,
version? Oh,
no. It's not a tree because a sextile can be just with one other planet. Today it
ah,
happens to be with 2 other planets. It's right in the
so
middle
this
of
is a
them.
special sextile that so the sextile itself isn't a threesome. This is just a special sextile
Yes.
where the threesome exists. Beautiful.
Yes. And
That's
Saturn
helpful.
is
Thank
just
you.
grounding, as I said, it's just this groundingness of the structures, making it long term, all the lovely and yummy things that we are initiating today. Yep.
Beautiful.
Can I also just say, let's see, hi Katie. And Glenda's here. There's so many people. Hi, I love that everyone is here. Can we also just put in there before you get off of on on a tangent about things? If you didn't see, if you haven't seen yet, and if you're watching this, Tyler and I we're going to do an amazing, mind-blowing course together about opening the door to sacred love. This is for you to come into unity within yourself, unity and harmony within yourself. We're going to talk masculine and feminine from an inside perspective and in a relational perspective. And this is a course that is just mind-blowing because we don't only talk about the feminine and the masculine. We also talk about the unity and the harmony because that is essential for how we live life and how we take action on things and when we take action, and then obviously in harmony and communication with other people. So
Yeah,
that is
and I would
starting
actually,
February 12th. I'm going to put, yep, you go. I'm going to put it in here.
so I would also add because people have asked me already about what is this class. Honestly, it's couples counseling for your soul. That's really what we're going to be doing. Is we are going to help each one of us because we're going to not just talk about the masculine, we're going to talk about what the masculine energies look like from Christina's perspective as a woman. And I'm going to talk about what the masculine energies look like for me as a man. And then we're going to talk about the feminine in the second class. And we're going to talk because it looks different. It's the same energy, but it manifests very differently. And then in the third class, we're going to bring them together and have a little bit of couples counseling. Because again, a lot of what we're dealing with is war. There is a war going on within us. And all of us, I think, recognize this internal battle and conflict. And how do we win this war without somebody losing? because it feels like we have to sacrifice, which is what we're going to talk about today a little more, in order to quote unquote win, which is so again, I think if you really want to understand what this class is about, we are going to open up doorways for you to do your work, to navigate the war within us. And I think it's going to be amazing. And as Christine and I are putting this together, it just flows. It just flows. And I think you will find this a very valuable space. But I'm a little biased. I'll acknowledge that.
We're awesome.
We are.
And it starts February 12th. And right now there's an early bird pricing. So if you jump on now, you can save some good money, which is kind of what's nice.
And shout out to Katie in the chat, because she's the one who figured out 2/12/24 is the perfect date. Energetically, like it's 2/12/24. So the stars, everything's aligning. And so I really encourage, today is like, we're putting this out to the universe. Our work is going to best be complete. That doesn't mean we have stuff to do, but we trust. And I think you're going to really enjoy that class.
Yeah. And I've, of course, also aligned these classes with the astrology, which is why, because we have significant placements to enhance the masculine, to enhance the feminine, and then the unity of the two in February, in the 13th, the 17th, and the 22nd. So our classes are matched with that. We do the class the day before, and then you get to experience this energy that the planets are bringing in a new way. So amazingness. I put it in the chat.
And we will give you tools. Oh.
Yes, I put it in the chat, sanctuarywithinyou.com /opening doors. But you can just go to sanctuarywithinyou.com on the first page there. I put it in the chat right there too. Relatable for sure, says April. And also I saw before here, yes, we are gonna, this will be in my group. I always keep these conversations in the group up, or the lives up, and we're recording this. I'm gonna put it on my YouTube channel, which is Sanctuary Within You as well. Just someone asked there. Okay.
All right, we're gonna talk codependency.
Yes. So before I unleash you, we're just gonna say that.
Oh, you wait. You think you have a leash on me? Is that what I just heard?
No, I
Is
surrender.
that what you're saying?
I do not. I do not, Tyler. You are free. But the Jinky 19. We have the shadow space of codependency. We have the gift space of sensitivity. And then we have the city, which you call the price, but the city of sacrifice. So just so we know what we're talking about here, and then we're going to do a deep dive into this. And for you who want to listen to the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd, who are amazing, you can listen to this for free. Just go to the genekeys.com /pulse, PULSE, and you can listen to it for free through Friday, I believe. So let's dig in.
And his voice, like butter. It's like butter for your soul listening to him talk.
Light language. It truly is light language. That's how I feel it. Yep.
All right, let's dig in.
Right. Yes.
So codependency feels like a really, really negative term. And I think one of the things is our brains hear that word and we process it against the lens of our experiences and what we hear out of psychology, being enmeshed in a codependent relationship. But I think as I looked into the Gene Key and as I listened to Richard's heavenly voice, I think one of the things that I pulled out of it is, what are the ways within me I am codependent with structures in my life that I'm not willing to let go of? What are the things that I hold on to that I am codependent on that prevent me from being fully free and in my giftings? So I think for me, a lot of times it's hard because when we hear that word, I think about my relationships with others, my relationships with my kids, coaches, teachers, bosses. I don't want a codependent relationship, when a lot of times that is just a reflection of what's happening with me. What are your thoughts?
I want to add in from a different angle because that's how it's coming to me right now. Um, the first thing that comes, it's so much about moving through life through dharma because of karma. And that to me is what we can call karma. It's a different interpretation, you know, depending on who you are. But for me, that's just our soul lesson. That's a part of our soul purpose. Karma doesn't have to be negative. It's a way that life moves for us and plays out for us because we came into this life with a soul mission and soul purpose. Is how I see it. And so Dharma is the way that all this unfolds day by day for us. It's about the relationship and the people that we meet, either short or long term. It's about how we are and how our inner journey is, like you say, how we talk to ourselves and the things that we do. So for me, that's the first thing that strikes me because that's what's it's so much subconscious that we are kind of like I actually got that image, like pulling out the snakes out of your hair, right? It's just like the things that we got ourselves into because we came here to learn that lesson. And that's not a slap in the face lesson, like, oh, you better learn this. This is no, you get to learn how to love yourself. You get to this for me as working with so many empaths. I don't like this is just me. I don't like to call myself an empath. I'm super sensitive. For me, just in this realm, sometimes empaths can just be like a victim space of like, oh, I'm an empath, so I can't deal with that. For me, that's all about energetic boundaries. If I understand, like I choose to not be in a lot of crowds a lot of times, and I choose to definitely not watch the news and stuff because I take it in. However, I don't see myself as a victim. So that's just me. And some people love the word empaths, and you're welcome to use it in the way. But that's a part of that, like for me, that brings the codependency brings to the lesson of energetic boundaries and boundaries in general, but energetic boundaries. So that's the first thing that come to me.
And I hear that and feel that in the depths of my soul because on this spiritual journey for me, one of the first lessons was this idea of sovereignty, that I am sovereign for my energy, my emotions, my feelings, and I cannot rely upon someone else's perspective of me, their view of me, their reality of me, to convince me of what I believe to be true. And so this idea that if you see me as happy, then I have to be happy. If you see me as sad, then I must not be seeing myself correctly. Maybe I'm sad. I talk to a lot as a fellow empath and feeling the same way. My spiritual coach, Amanda, said one of the first lessons, she's like, look, empaths have a tinge of narcissism to them just as much as narcissism does. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is absorbing people's energy without their permission. They have not given you permission to absorb their energy. So when you do that, you are taking that from them without any kind of agreement. And so the idea for me was really learning this idea of observing people's energy and feeling and not absorbing it, because that's where it crosses into that codependency, where I rely on it. I need my fix for that energy. And if I'm not getting it from you, maybe I'll get it over here or over here because I need that hit of that energy for me to satisfy me as an empath. And that changes when you become an observer of energy, you become sensitive. That becomes a gifting for you because you're not absorbing it, you're not dependent on it, you're not bringing it into your heart and your soul. You're just saying, oh, I see it. And it prevents that oversensitivity because Richard was talking about that sensitivity is not oversensitivity. It really is this idea of being aware and allowing for things to happen. So I think that to me is what resonates with me is that it's the observation, not the absorption of this energy.
Yes, I completely agree. I love how you put that. Yep. There was something I thought about that. Let's see here. Yeah, I wanted to add in there because it's something that I've had to check myself with, and still often have to check myself with, is that on the note that you said that of like being almost like addicted to someone else's energy. For one, actually, there's two things here. So for one is that these patterns are subconscious, right? So until we bring them into the conscious, into awareness. So someone is subconsciously buying their energy onto whoever is there because they can't deal with their own energy. So they have to barf it out on someone else. And then we get them matched up with someone who is just like open, like, oh, give it to me, right? And so that's the subconscious, not like, as you said, it's not permission, because it's both subconscious. Both have to learn sovereignty. Both have to, the one have to learn to deal with their own energy and their own emotions, so they don't just have to dump it on someone else. That's their lesson. And then the other person have to learn to set those boundaries. So it's both boundaries, it's just a little bit different way. So that's something there. And that's what I call karma, when we live those patterns out. And I'm sure let us know in the chat of how, like, if that is relatable for you. I feel like everyone has those stories, right? And at a point where like, oh, we start to get more and more aware of that. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, let me see, what was that? What did Amanda say? What did you say Amanda said the first thing?
Learning to observe and not absorb, learning to like all, even empaths have a tinge of narcissism to them, not
Right.
just narcissists, but there's an
Right.
ownership.
Yep. Thank you. So I got into it there. I remembered it. So what I need to check myself on all the time is that I love to help other people. I love to, in that sense, be in other people's energies, but I have to hold myself accountable when I tend to go into that space, when I actually need to be in my own energy more. It's in one way easier to go into other people's energy, and spending my time that way, I do that really effortlessly, and I love that space. That's why I'm a coach. That's why I'm here. I love it. um, and it's easy for me to do, but I've had to check myself for that boundary within myself. Okay, well, now it's time to take care of me, which I am good at, and not just internally, but also externally. For me, that's how that moves. Like, I take care of myself internally, I take care of others internally. And then the third for me is, how do I take care of me externally? And that's where I really have to check myself when I go into one or the other of those two. And kind of, in one way, we can call that codependency on those two, because it's something that I love, but I'm not always taking the responsibility to, like, okay, do I have I done everything externally in terms of, in terms of whatever needs to be done in the home, or like exercise. You've seen my journey that I finished yesterday, and I'm going to start again tomorrow. Woohoo! My exercise challenge, because I had to hold myself accountable to take care of my physical body that way as well, right? Or like being a business owner, for me, that's also like all the back end stuff, and the long-term stuff is not always what I prioritize, and I've had to check myself in that as well. So that's just something that I wanted to bring up there, of like that kind of like codependency that happens within us in what we like to do, but then we sacrifice or not prioritize other things.
Well, and I think back to that starts in childhood, right? Like we're talking about our inner child who at some point realized and took upon themselves their parents' energy. And so when you're in the place of just being open and saying, give it to me, give me all of your crappy energy, I'll take it. It's because it feels comfortable for us. It's because we've been doing it our entire lives without much thought or consideration. We're just so used to taking people's toxic energy that to put up a boundary feels uncomfortable. And so we would rather sit in the comfort of someone else's barfed energy than to sit in the discomfort of the freedom of not having that. Because then we start to question, what's my purpose? Why am I here? If I'm not here to help them, why do I exist? Because it is so much easier to play and help somebody in their shadows than to live in our own and to dig into our own. It's like, let's just be honest. Like, I would rather talk to somebody and be with them and help them in their shadow than go into mine. I mean, so, and I
You've
think
done a
that's a
lot, though, I
critical
wouldn't say
piece.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
yeah, it's a starting point.
And so you go.
Um, yeah, no, what I was going to say that I just wanted to add that in too, from a child's perspective and how we learn this, is that, you know, and when we go into healing these parts or being aware of these parts within ourselves and changing that pattern, it's important to remember a child's perspective, because if you're a child and you have one or two emotionally not intelligent parents, then you learn that you being open and taking on that barfing or energy, that is how you get love. So if you set up boundaries, probably as a child, if you would have set up boundaries there, which if you haven't learned that, if your parents haven't or someone else haven't shown you that, then you don't even know that exists. But there is, like, if you, because a child will have that internal battle to start with, and the parents' way will win, because essentially is about, as a child, if you don't do what your parents accept, then you're on the streets. And that's not that a child can't live on the streets and can't live without love. That's the essential. So I just, in your own journey, and if this resonates for you, and for you, you can, yeah, let me know in the chat. Like, you have to remember to be really compassionate with yourself, because it's easy as an adult, as we go into these patterns, and we don't understand, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I, excuse me, but why am I doing this? And why am I reacting? I know in here that this is silly, but your whole nervous system and your whole system is acting out a different thing. So compassion here is really, really essential, to know that your nervous system and what's happening, that's programmed in your childhood, and it was life threatening if you didn't take that on in this example, right? So that's what you're dealing with. So I just want to bring that love and compassion for anyone who's on that journey, and if that's what you're dealing with, so that you can bring that to yourself, and knowing where you came from and why it's so wired within you, when your mind is like, oh, this shouldn't be that hard. So just wanted to add that in.
I feel like I want us to just pause and breathe what you just said in, because I feel like what you said was super crucial. And so I just want to kind of catch our breath a little, and digest, because you just said, I think, some really big things for us to really take in. So let's just pause.
Yeah. And we hear it in the comments too. April Carey. And with that pause, just breathe in love for yourself.
And breathe out disappointment.
Yes. Or fear of failure.
Mm.
And let that love spread through every single cell. If it first fills your lungs, let it fill your heart. Breathe in with your heart. And then let it flow down into your legs, all the way down to your feet, into your roots. And then the same into your arms, all the way out to your fingertips. And then up into your throat, to your head. Let love fill you.
I love that. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I think one of the things that I'm feeling is, this morning I wrote about the Torah portion, and we're in the story of Exodus, and they just finished a war. So the children of Israel, they fought a war, and if some of you may know the story, is when Moses raised his hand, they were winning the war, and when he lowered his hands, they were losing the war. And Moses had two people to come hold his hands up for him and help him with that battle. And immediately, when the battle was over, all of a sudden, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, brings his wife and children from Midian to Moses. And so you realize that for this entire journey out of Egypt, out of slavery, is that Moses sent the people he cared about away to protect them, to protect them. And so the idea that when the war is over, like Moses had to go through that war, but now the war is over, it's time to reestablish and to bring family back into our lives and to bring family back. Because in the codependency of the family dynamic, as we talk about that, the idea that there's a war that exists within us, the peace that comes can be off putting. And so the idea of whatever family, it might be your soul family, it might be friends, but to bring family back, to move us to a place of sensitivity, to be aware and understand and allow, right? Because if you've come from a family that you were always at war with and you've become codependent to these energies, now that you start to see the war is over, how do you re-engage with your family, whatever that looks like for you? How do you engage with your family inside and be sensitive to what is happening so that when the trauma comes up, when you're absorbing people's energy, you are now sensitive to that. You're not oversensitive or undersensitive. You're just, oh, this is what's going on. I am home. And the beauty of that is Jethro wasn't a part of Israel. He was an outsider. And yet he came in and was like, this is great. I heard about the war and what the universe did. I want to be a part. I'm going to sacrifice to Hashem, the God in the Torah. And basically, all of the elders came and sat down with Jethro, who is this outsider. And so we oftentimes think about, when we look at religion and we look at philosophies, there's always an othering. That's about them. That's not about me. And so, how do we build relationships that are both meaningful and maintain our independence? That is the challenge, I think, of humanity, because we live in a world where we see the world through this lens of victims and villains. And we've talked about this before, versus you're an independent human being. You have sovereignty. And I want to build a meaningful relationship with you. Let's co-create that relationship together in our mutual sovereignty. And how can we be sensitive to our independence and our sovereignty and incorporate that into this new vessel, this new thing that's happening? That you as an outsider can come into my life and we can coexist. Not only coexist, we can celebrate, we can sacrifice together for the betterment of the entire community. So I feel like that's a good transition from this codependency to the sensitivity, which is just, there's a lot more to go there, but that's kind of what I'm feeling as I think through this. So curious to your thoughts and other, if that resonates with you or other thoughts on that.
Yeah, what I feel with that and some of the conversations that we've had and in the group, and then what he mentions in this Gene Key as well, is it's kind of a journey, right? When we realize the codependency and we start setting those boundaries, then we become more sovereign and individual. But then, like what we talk about so often and so much, is that 1 + 1 = 3 or 1 + 1 = 10, because in the co-create, but we have to hold the sovereignty, and then in the co-creation, and of course I got the B card here as we started, it's that, be open to whatever that is for you. But in that co-creation, we have to give up the polarity. We have to give up the dual, like we're either this or this. The victim or the villain. Like there's no longer in the city, and this is always the case in the cities and the Gene Keys, they go up into a completely different energy. So holding that sovereignty and then creating together, and then in one way it's about losing the individuality, but but we can have the discussion here. How does that actually look on a human, for a human in human level? Because in the sacrifice that he talks about in the city here, that's that's what I took away from that, is to let go of duality. It's not this or this, and it's not black or white. It becomes super colorful and super abundant in a way that we can't experience on our own. And so we can do that in one-on-one relationship, but we can also, what I call like this divine matrix, right? We're all meant to be unique, and we're all meant to live our life to the fullest, and to live our own gifts to the fullest, because we then connect to other people that live their gifts to the fullest. And we're all meant to be, like, this becomes this beautiful network of divinity, and how we can move that together. And that's not something that's possible to do on our own. Not that we're not whole and complete on our own, but we enhance each other. I don't know if that's where, but that's how I went with all that. Yeah.
Oh no, and I love that idea of enhancing one another. And I think the sensitivity impacts our discernment in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the idea of I may see something, but do I need to say something? And I think the binary says, if you see something, say something. Sensitivity says, like an example, you are an independent human being. Is this really for your highest and best good right now? Or are you, and are you in a space to receive this? And do I need to get this off my chest because I don't want the responsibility to carry it? Versus, no, I can carry the burden of seeing something and knowing that it's not the time. you
Right.
know you're
Yeah.
you're grieving the loss of something, and you're saying things, and I'm hearing it as, ooh, she's digging into shadows. Ooh, like, do I push back? Do I, like, or do I say, you know what, just let it go? She's a human being. She's on her own path. And I think we sometimes get stuck in, what do we do with that sensitivity? And do we become oversensitive? Do we become sensitive? And then the prize, or the city, is sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice for me to hold that awareness that I may have as somebody external to you, and allow you to go through your own journey without me forcing you or pushing you to involve me in your journey, to recognize you don't need me. You don't need me to ascend, to go on your journey. You've got everything you need. There's a sacrifice element to that,
Yep.
and how do I let go of that and just allow it to unfold in a very organic, natural way?
Yeah. That's the Magi. I have another card deck that has a card that's the Magi. It's like, yeah, knowing that we see things, and this Gene Key is so much connected to other realms, and when we go into other realms, for me, that's not really going into other realms. It's just opening the door within ourselves to be in where no time and space exists. And so with that, we can see things, we can understand things, but that doesn't mean that that's that discernment of, do we put that on someone or push someone else? But that's, it's really about surrendering, because it could be ego coming in there, like, oh, well, I see this, so I'm going to tell you that. Like, no, as you said, like, it's really important to feel into that sensitivity, feel into that this needs to happen organically. And so just as much as we can feel into someone and where they're at, and what they might need in the moment, we also have to remember then to feel in, well, where are they on their journey? Are they open to receive? And also, that is also, like, talking about communication is the key here, so that we can, we can discern that, and even open, like, oh, I might have something here that might help you. Are you willing, do you want to hear that? And, like,
Right.
just that is, the communication here is key with anyone in any kind of relationship as well. But to catch oneself when we see things and think we know things, because we all have a lens that we come from, and So we have to just be open in both ways, I would say. Really important.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this brings up a conversation I had with a really good friend um, who called me out because the last 2 weeks, a lot of my giftings have really just gone exponentially, and so it's like I've become very sensitive, but I had no discernment about. I see this and I need to tell you this. Like I've got a message for you, and I got to go out. Like it's like whoa, whoa, whoa. And I had a friend say, "Hey, it feels lately like you just see me as a problem to fix." And I just took that in and I was like, totally. And I am so sorry for that because I didn't discern that these things that are coming in that I'm sensitive to are designed for transformation, not control or ego. And I think there's this greed that comes with it. And so to sacrifice that, to say, I don't need to share everything with you. If you want it, I'm here. And there'll be times where people will come to me and say, hey, do you have something for me? Or, hey, can I talk with you? Can you hold space? But I realized as I was holding space, things were coming in and I was pouring into that space my own stuff instead of really just holding that space for somebody, for them to unfold their own reality with me and for me to validate their reality. And there's a sacrifice to that there is you know this space that I'm holding is not about me. And in that sacrifice, it is about me. It's both and, because my work is to reflect on why do I want to share this, what is my purpose in sharing this. And this isn't about me. This is space for that other person. They're needing or wanting that space. So it's a beautiful like integration of this duality that really does make it three instead of two.
Yep. Yeah. And it requires that awareness to really sit. Why do we feel things, and why, like, our impulse for different things? It's awareness. It's awareness in ourselves. And I love having people call me out on those things because it's
And it's
those,
hard.
blind spots.
Yes. And I
Yep.
think for some of us, I yearn like when somebody calls me out on a blind spot or an obstructed area of my life, it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. And one of the skills I think for me is learning not to tone police. Because so for me, how somebody gives me a message will often cloud that message. And I have the sovereignty to decide I'm going to listen to the tone and not like the tone and reject the message versus letting the tone go and getting to the heart of the message to see, is the message valuable for me? Is the message resonating even though the way it's being given is not? And I think there's a sensitivity, right, to that idea and a sacrifice of navigating the feelings of, whoa, you're coming at me really hard right now. I don't like the way you're telling me this. To say, and what you're telling me is valid. And I hear and receive that valid feedback. And
Right.
I'm going to chew on that and take it, journal, do what I need to do to process and digest it so that our three can blossom.
Right. Yeah, and I love that because that takes awareness of your own triggers in terms of then tones, or and then I mean, obviously that gets to be a conversation too, if it's something that always happens that way, so that the other person are aware of it. Like, that gets to be a conversation too, so that we know each other that way. But I love that because it's all about not taking, it's so easy to take things personally because of tone, or because of, I mean, you just talking about that, I just felt that energy of just like opening to see, okay, everything that comes towards us comes for a reason. And one of the, biggest lessons we have as human beings, I believe, is about not taking things personally, but seeing, why did this show up in my life right now? Why did this show up either in that tone or in that message? It's all about not taking it personally when all the alarm bells was going off, and just like you said, what is the message? What is the message underneath, and why do I need this message? Yeah, I love that. It's a part of, in Gene Keys, as we study Gene Keys, and for you who are in the membership, you know this, because then we go a certain way. So one can study Gene Keys intuitively, and I've done that too, just to talk about whichever sphere is calling us. But in the membership, we go in a certain way because there's pathways between the spheres. And this, what we're talking about right now, is so much from the purpose into the attraction sphere, in who we attract into our life, because that's our dharma. And so everything that we experience in this life, the smallest thing to the biggest things, that gets reflected, it gets reflected because we're in a certain space within ourselves. So when we can see life that way, we get these messages, and we can understand why. And that brings so much peace within us when we learn to see, like, okay, even if I get super triggered right now, I'm going to see, what is this message? Why is this in my life? Because everything is in our life for a reason. And when we can see that, even if we don't see the message or the reason right away, it can bring us peace and comfort in the moment of maybe challenge or uncomfortableness.
And you just triggered in me one of the things I loved most about this gene key. In order to live this out, we have to be heretical. We have to create here, like Richard talks about, the sacrifice is being willing to go against the grain, to say to the structure, and I love being a heretic. I love, I mean, this is why I write about the Torah in a way that's dangerous. It's almost like, how dare you approach it this way? We've talked about the gene keys and how I look at the gene keys just so differently, as like a rocket ship blowing up with paper. That's heretical to the structure of what you're talking about, the way to go about doing it. But by blowing that up a little bit, we push back against the codependency of the structure. That's not to say the structure is bad or plays judgment, because one of the things I love about this gene key is there is no bad or good. There is no right or wrong per se. There's alignment or a lack of alignment. And so the idea of pushing against structures and looking at them as a heretic, I love that, because that's a sacrifice, and it's going to get you into trouble. And I always get myself into trouble because I will always push back. And if people are married to those systems, they're not going to like it. And I had sent you an article earlier about, it's almost as if this gene key is busting out of the echo chamber. We live in this echo chamber where we surround ourselves with ideas, values, and energy that keeps us codependent on this worldview, versus being sensitive to say, I'm going to see beyond. I'm going to take in this data that I may not have considered before, because it's going to bring up within me growth, development. And I'm going to have to sacrifice some of my ideas of good and bad. And we've had conversations even within the group of looking at life through the lens of good and bad, victim and villain, to say, I'm going to resist that a little bit, be a little heretical, and say, what if there's no victims and villains? And for some people, that's like, they can't get beyond that, because we're stuck surrounding ourselves with this echo chamber. Which is why I like these conversations between you and I, because we push each other beyond our own echo chambers. Because we all do it. We all have these structures. Even as we're expanding to bring us comfort, we want this safety of, I'm right, or I'm okay, or I'm not like going off the handle, I'm not deluded, like, right? So how do we push those structures through? To me, that's the journey of this gene key.
Yes. I'm just going to say yes. And well, actually,
I
I
love it.
am going to say one thing, is that all of this, the path for me, the path there and what Jinkies is so much about, but my path and being a Leo, your path, like everything is just, it happens with an open heart. The structures and the limitations are all in here, and they're based on previous experiences or cultural, religious, social, whatever that is, experiences. So in order to blow boxes to smithereens, as I love, is about opening our heart. When we feel like, oh, well, we can't understand this, we can't control this, that's all the mind wanting to categorize in certain ways, and the heart is just like, I'm just going to be open to this. Kind of what I mentioned in the beginning with the B card. Again, the feeling that I got for this whole conversation with that was so much about it benefits us to be open to other people, to other ideas, to allow ourselves to open to things that we usually shut down and say, oh, no, this is not my belief. So I would challenge anyone to hear this, that hears this, of, okay, what can we be open to today? Because there's something more, there's abundance, the more and more abundance coming in every single way. If we can be open from our usual structures and our usual beliefs, and something that might have been super ingrained, that it's, shame and guilt that we've talked about quite a bit with this, for me, this full moon. And like when we can feel guilty or we can feel ashamed if we open ourselves to something different, because we've learned that that's wrong. And this is blowing all that to pieces. Nothing is right or wrong. Everything gets to be the way it is without having that judgment on it. So an open heart, and that's going to feel uncomfortable when we're not used to having an open heart, when we're not used to being like, we're opening outside our comfort zone here. We're opening outside what we can put in the boxes that how our brain lives, right? And that can feel unsafe, but trusting in your heart, trusting in the path, trusting in the universe is good, trusting in that we're here because of love. Love is everywhere, but that takes an opening into trusting that everything we get is love, even the challenges, but then also obviously trusting that is the core of who we are. So we get to trust ourselves. And in doing so, the more we can learn that, the more open we can experience life, is my view.
It's beautiful. I think that's a good, as we start to wind down this conversation, I think that really is the crux. It's the open heart versus the resistant heart.
Yes.
And especially when things are happening that are not aligned with what we want, to keep our hearts open is the scary part.
Yep. And it's the breakthrough part. To me, that's strength.
That's where the breakthroughs come.
That's where the breakthrough come. And that's strength. That's inner strength. When we can have our heart open through the scary parts and through the unknown parts. Through the vulnerable parts. To be vulnerable, to dare to be vulnerable, is the strongest thing that you can do. That's pure, true strength for me.
I'm hearing the song Into the Unknown.
Yes.
From Frozen.
Oh, that I have been singing my heart out too with Sierra in the car for the last few months.
Yes.
Yes.
My kids are tired of that song, but my youngest, that was her favorite. Into the Unknown. So
yes. Exactly.
and that's where we're going. We are going into the unknown because we don't know ourselves. It's not an into the unknown out here. It's an into the unknown in here.
Yes.
It's digging into those shadows and really digging into the exploration of this infinite space within our soul.
I love that. Infinite space within our soul. I think that's a beautiful ending point. So I just want to encourage, because I know several of you jumped on late here, so go and watch from the beginning. This has been an amazing, we're going to stay on just for a little bit, but amazing conversation. And if you like this and are dynamic and want to dive deep into that unknown within yourself, in your own galaxies inside, then join us for Opening the Doors to Sacred Love. It's an amazing course, and we're going to start in a couple of weeks. And if you haven't seen it, now you get an amazing price for it as well. So the link to that is sanctuarywithinyou.com/opening doors. But you'll see it on the first page as well, sanctuarywithinyou.com. We hope to see you all in there, and spread that word to everyone. Like, I don't see many people that cannot benefit from the course that we've put together. It's amazingness. It's amazing from how you can learn and getting the tools and the experience of how to move with yourself, and how to make yourself more holistic and in harmony, unity that way. So with that, I haven't seen a lot of,
Hold on one
I
second.
think, yep.
So I want to take all of this in,
Yes.
and then I have a question.
Okay, perfect. And if anyone else
So
has
this is,
questions, please put them in the chat.
yes.
Yeah.
So we're in Gene Key 19. In 5 or 6 days, we're going to transfer to another one. Any kind of preview of what's coming next? Do you know what the next key is coming?
Well,
Did
yes,
I put you on
but
the spot?
no. But why would you need to know that right now? Because right now we're all about contemplating what is right now. Mr. Aries moon. But yes, there's a way to look at that. They have the schedule on the Gene Keys site. But
I
I want to stop.
appreciate you pushing back to ground me back in this moment instead of getting ahead of myself. Because I become codependent of knowing what's next instead of being sensitive to what's here. So thank you for that. I appreciate and I receive that.
Perfect. All right. I don't see any comments. We can stay on for, and I feel the energy here, like there's been a lot of openings doors here just in our conversations. I think for anyone who's been here the whole time, or even if you got the snippet that you got, I think that's been a lot. I feel like the energy is full. So maybe it's really digest this. If you've listened to this, take time to digest this and see how all this lands for you. Because we just putting out so many different things, and we all get to sit with, oh, this is the piece that came to me today. You don't have to take in everything today. You can take in just a piece for you who are listening or listening to the replay. Like, what did you take away? And put that in the chat even after we're gone. We'd love to just communicate with you, but it's important here not to overwhelm. The sensitivity can get overwhelming too. So just tune into discernment. Okay, this was a lot of information or a lot of energies, and it's moving things within me. But what is the one thing that stood out to me the most? And you can have the discernment to not taking the rest for now, to sit with that piece so that it doesn't get overwhelming, but trust that you got the piece that you needed as a priority for yourself right now. Yeah.
That is beautiful. And drink lots of water because we just spent a lot of energy.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. All right. I'm not seeing any comments, so I think we'll jump off and say bye for now and see you in the course. We're looking forward to that. If you have any questions, just DM either one of us, and love you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.